Bluetooth was never supposed to exist on your phone. Sounds like a conspiracy theory. But if everything had gone according to the marketing plans of the late 1990s, you wouldn't be turning on Bluetooth today. You'd be switching on something colder, more industrial, and probably incredibly boring. The technology you've used for more than 2 decades actually began as nothing more than a placeholder, an internal code name, like naming a file Final. V2, Real, Final. Docs. Nobody expected it to leave the office. So why did that temporary name survive? And what happened behind the scenes that convinced the entire world to adopt a label that sounds like a medieval dental problem? The answer lies in a race against the clock. By the late 1990s, mobile phones were spreading fast. Laptops were getting thinner. Yet every device felt like its own island. Want to transfer data? Plug in a cable. Sync contacts? Cable. Connect headphones? Another cable. Major companies came together to build a universal wireless standard. Intel, Ericsson, Nokia, IBM, Toshiba. Just hearing the names sounds like pressure. During development, the project carried an internal nickname, Bluetooth, inspired by Harold Bluetooth, the Viking king who unified Nordic tribes. The metaphor was perfect, a technology designed to connect scattered devices just as that king had united rival groups. But it was only meant to be temporary, like calling a new cafe Auntie Ba's Place while waiting for the real brand name. As the technology neared completion, the marketing team stepped in. They did exactly what marketing does, search for a name that sounded professional and profitable. The first option was PAN, short for Personal Area Network. Technically flawless. Straight out of a networking textbook. But imagine a regular user saying, "Turn on PAN." It sounds more like configuring a server than connecting earbuds for music. The second option, radio wire. Reasonable enough radio signals. Wireless communication. The problem was legal. Trademark registration takes time. And time was running out. Launch day was approaching fast. The product was ready. Tech expos were waiting. Journalists were preparing headlines. Yet the official name was still trapped somewhere between the legal department and marketing. Have you ever worked in an environment where everything depends on a file that hasn't been approved yet? It feels like a ship ready to sail but waiting for one final signature. Amid the chaos, the codename Bluetooth kept appearing everywhere: internal emails, engineering documents, presentation slides. Engineers asked each other, "Is the Bluetooth stack ready yet?" The temporary name had quietly become part of the project's culture, and then a survival-level decision was made. Not because of a grand branding strategy, not because of deep user research, simply because there was no time left. Just use Bluetooth. Can you imagine the silence in that meeting room for a few seconds? A name that started as a nickname suddenly becoming a global brand. And when the technology launched, it carried that name into the world. Not PAN, not radio wire. Something stranger. Harder to explain, but that strangeness became its advantage. Think about human psychology for a moment. Our brains are overloaded with acronyms: Wi-Fi, USB, GPS, NFC, technical, professional, and easy to forget. Bluetooth feels different. It paints an image of Bluetooth, a Viking king, a story. In marketing, what sticks isn't specifications. It's memory. When Harold's bindrune symbol became the logo, the identity grew even stronger. 2 ancient runes layered together, a piece of 1,000-year-old history living inside your phone's control panel. Every time you turn on Bluetooth, you're activating a data protocol operating at 2,4 gigahertz. Sounds dry, right? 2,4 gigahertz means 4 billion oscillations per second. If you tried counting from 1 to 2, 4 billion at one number per second, it would take you more than 76 years. Yet you don't think about the number. You think about the familiar blue symbol. That's the difference. A name that almost got replaced became a global standard. Imagine if the lawyers had finished the paperwork on time. If PAN had been chosen, Maybe you'd be turning on Pan every morning without ever wondering what it meant. No bar story origin. No Viking king. No discolored tooth. Sometimes brands aren't born from perfection. They come from pressure, from unfinished plans, from last-minute decisions, and a little luck. What's fascinating is that once the name went public, nobody changed it back. It was accepted, then liked, then it became the default. The tech world is full of grand plans that never survive. Yet here, a fake name slipped through the process and climbed to the top. Every time you connect your headphones, speakers, keyboard, or watch, you're using a brand born from urgency, a naming accident that happened at the last minute. A moment when someone said, "Let's just go with it." And that just for now has lasted more than 20 years. Maybe that's the most interesting lesson in this story. Not everything great is perfectly designed from the start. Sometimes the thing that survives the chaos becomes the strongest part of all. Next time you turn on Bluetooth, remember you're using a name that almost didn't exist, a temporary identity that outlived every official plan. And if you're curious about other everyday symbols hiding similar secrets, there's another suspect waiting right on your keyboard. Trust me, its story missed even more deadlines than this one.